G'day guys, welcome back to another video. Well, today we're going to be installing a reversing camera into our Jayco that we previously bought. Now, this has been supplied to us by RVSecure. Now, these guys are based in Western Australia and they supply HD reversing cameras and alarm systems for caravans, RVs, boats, trailers, all those types of things. Now, they've sent it to us for a install and review. So that's what we're going to be doing is we'll have a look at what you actually get in the box. We'll do an install. Hopefully it's not too long. And then what we're going to be doing is a bit of a review at the end and let you know what our thoughts are, because previously wireless reversing cameras haven't been the greatest and they've had a lot of dropouts. Anyway, the guys at RVSecure have promised me that this is on a totally another level. So let's take a look at what you actually get in the box. Now, what sets aside this kit compared to other kits that are on the market is this isn't actually a 1080p camera. Now, a lot of the other cameras on the market aren't 1080p, so this guarantees you a nice, crisp, clear picture. So you get that full 1080p resolution. Now, the camera is able to be used at night, and it does have 18 IR LEDs, so that will improve your night vision. It does have an additional bracket, so you can see here, it does have a bracket here, which stands it off from the side of the van. If you needed to extend that for whatever reason, it does have an optional one here which pushes the camera off the van just a little bit more. In terms of connection, it has like a weatherproof connection here, and then we simply then plug that sort of into here, and then we hardwire it. Now, there's a couple of different wiring options we have when it comes to installing this, and probably the option that I'm going to go to is wiring into the clearance light or the park lights, and that will give me constant power once I turn the lights on. Now, if you were to install it directly to a power source, you're probably going to then need to put a switch in, or you could wire it if you really wanted to. However, it sort of defeats the purpose of going wireless. You could wire it into the reverse signal into the back of the car, but then that's obviously going to then defeat the purpose of wireless. Obviously an antenna, so that obviously will screw onto this part here in the back of the camera here. Simply screws on. You do get a install pad, so this is like a double-sided foam pad that sits in between the Caravan and the camera and just stops those vibrations transmitting through. Moving on to the screen. So this is a 7-inch LCD screen with 1024 by 600 pixels. So it's not quite a 1080p screen, however, it's sort of just in between 1080 and 720p. So I'll be really interested to see what the actual quality is like. On the screen itself, you've got a number of menu sort of buttons on and off. You do have the ability to run multiple cameras on this screen as well, so that's a really good feature. And you can also add or remove the grid lines if you were backing up. You can hardwire mount the screen. However, I'm going to be using the included cigarette lighter socket, because what my plan is when I use this is to actually install it when I'm actually using the Caravan, and when I'm not using the Caravan, I can just take this down so it's not in my way. It does come with a permanent sort of solution if you wanted to mount this to your dash or your windscreen or anything like that. I'm not going to be using this. Now, they do have an optional windscreen suction cup which sucks to the windscreen, and then you can mount your screen on there. I didn't get that. However, I've got a little bit of a trick up my sleeve that I'm going to be using on an existing mount that I use for my phone. So we'll show you that a little bit later. All right, so there's two reasons why you would want to be installing a camera to the back of your Caravan. Now, first one is a reverse camera. Just like your car, you want to know what's behind you when you're sort of reversing. Now, the second reason is actually a camera that you can actually use to see what's actually behind you when you're actually traveling. So look, when we're cruising down the highway with this van, it's a 19'6", and we're coupled to the Ranger, we're around the 15 meters long. So look, your mirrors, your side mirrors aren't always going to tell you the full story. By adding this camera on the back of the Caravan, it's going to give you a much bigger picture. All right, so when it comes to installation, we're going to see if we can pick up some power off the clearance light, or I'm going to be checking at the back of the top brake light here Apparently, Jayco have already pre-wired some power from the clearance light to that, so we're going to be checking that now. All right, so I think we're in luck. This cable here, I can feel it, comes across to this clearance light. So what we're going to do is just going to peel this back here. We'll get a multimeter, see if we can get some power to it, and test it. All right, so we've stripped the wires back. We're just going to test now to see if we've got power there. So we'll put the positive on the brown and the black on the white, and yes, that is correct. So white is negative and brown is positive. So that's where we're going to be hooking up our camera. Alright, so these are all soldered up now. Just last thing we do, just before we put a bit of tape on these, we just double check the polarity and then we can tape them up. Alrighty, so now we've hooked up the wiring, we've double checked it. Now it's time to actually fit the camera. Now what we're going to do is just got to find the center point here on the back of the Caravan, and we want to go up as high as we possibly can. Now what we also need to do is, because the wiring is going to be tucked up in there in that black trim, we've got to drill a hole in there to poke the wiring through, and the actual camera actually has a grommet on it, and that'll actually stop it from getting any water in it. Alright, so we've now marked the center of the van, and we've double checked that to actually make sure it is the center. Now we could go ahead and just mount the camera here like this and then straight into the actual fiberglass. However, it is fiberglass and we've only got some screws that are going to hold this in. So what I've done is I've got a bit of advice from a couple other people that have actually installed these, and they've recommended that we install a plate. So all I've done is I've had a bit of aluminium laying around in the garage, and I've just cut that to size and cut a few, drilled a few holes in it. And what we're going to be doing is mounting this to the actual back of the Caravan, siliconing this on, and that's going to give a lot more purchase. And then when the actual camera gets screwed in, it's going to get screwed directly to some aluminium, so that's going to give it a heap more strength. So this is the grommet on the back of the camera. And basically what they'll do is it'll stop any water or anything getting in, and it'll give it a nice clean sort of finish. Now this hole, so the internal diameter here is 20 millimeters. So what we need to do is drill a hole. Now I have a step drill bit, so if you haven't got one of these are absolutely brilliant. And this will go to 20 millimeters. So what we'll do is we'll drill a nice little pilot hole for a start point, and then we'll drill down to 20 millimeters, and then hopefully that grommet will fit in nice and neat. Look at that, nice and neat. All right, so now we've got the wiring all sorted. What we need to do is mount our plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this into place initially. I'm going to put a bit of tape around the outside because we're going to silicone this on, and the tape's just going to make a nice clean edge when we go to get rid of the silicone. All right, time for some silicone. Now I'm just using some what's called Selleys Marine Flex. It's good enough for boats. It's definitely good enough for caravans. Now what we want to do is focus around getting around these holes, because we know that we don't want any water leaks. Be a bit liberal around with the silicone, because this is going to actually give a heap of strength to this plate, and we don't want any water leaks around the holes. So don't worry about this stuff on the side, because when we pull the tape, that's going to come all with it. So now we're ready to mount the camera. What I'm thinking is I might use this longer arm, because the antenna on the back of the camera is probably going to be a little bit too close to this plastic trim here. So I think by just extending that out a little bit further will get us a little bit more distance. So the screws I'm using are just some outdoor self-tapping screws, and they're like got a galvanized sort of finish, and then they'll tap right into that aluminium. All right, so one thing I found is that when I actually installed the camera, the bracket orientation actually does matter. Now you can sort of see these slots on the sort of side. That's where the sort of bolt goes through and then attaches to the actual main body of the camera. Well, what I found was when I actually had it installed in this orientation was that I couldn't actually get the exact camera position that I wanted, because the bolts were coming to the end of this sort of this cutout here. By flipping the bracket over, I was able to increase that rotation and get the camera exactly where I wanted. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so now it's time to install the antenna. The antenna needs to be ideally in the vertical position. However, I've just discovered that I've mounted the camera a little bit too close to this plastic trim here, which, you know, a bit of a bummer. I should have identified that before. I'm gonna probably have to bend this antenna like that and then mount it to the back. So hopefully it doesn't impact the signal strength. But anyway, it's just something to watch out for. So now the camera is all installed. I'm pretty happy with the position. A little bit bummed about the antenna. However, hopefully that shouldn't impact the signal too much. Now it's time to jump to the car and install the monitor. All right, so we're in the car ready to get the monitor sort of all powered up. I've just got the monitor just sitting on top of the dash for the moment, because what we're going to be doing is actually attaching it to this out there and back mount. Now, typically I use this for my phone, sort of when we're sort of traveling. It sort of just mounts just like so. However, on the back of the monitor, I do actually have a quad lock mount that I've just sort of stuck on, and that'll allow me to dual purpose this bracket. So that is going to be really handy. Now, to get power to the actual monitor itself, I'm just using the supplied cigarette plug. Now, on the back of the actual plug itself, it does have a button here, red button. So if you do plug it in and you don't get power, just make sure that that button is pushed in. So we'll plug that in. Now we should get power to the monitor. Yes, we do. We can see the icons have appeared on the top. However, we haven't got an image yet, because we need to turn the power onto the lights, and that'll give the camera power. So we'll turn that on now, and as we should be able to see in any second, we should have a image, which we do. So just going through the icons at the top, we've got signal strength. So we've got 3 bars of signal at the top. We've got a picture of a camera on the left-hand side showing that it's connected. Now down here on the bottom, we've got our menu buttons. Now the menu buttons, you've got your standard sort of brightness, contrast and colors, and you can sort of change them using those left and right buttons. You do have an on and off button in the middle, so you can turn the monitor on and off if you need to. This button here will change the actual orientation of the image. So if we wanted to change it from upside down or left and right, we can do so. And the next button here is grid lines. So if you wanted to have grid lines, if you're reversing up, you wanted to know the distance between, you can set that or turn that off. And then the last button here, this button here is the actual pairing button. So if for whatever reason your camera lost pairing with the monitor, you can actually repair it, or you can actually pair up to 4 different cameras with this monitor. All right, so when it comes time to mounting the actual monitor onto the actual bracket itself, it's really simple. Just simply line up the teeth on the back of the quad lock, like so, give it a turn, and it locks into place. All right, so there it is. There's the monitor all installed. As you can sort of see from the sort of driver position, it doesn't actually impede my vision at all. You can see the actual mirror, it doesn't impact there. The actual monitor itself sits in this sort of A-pillar region, and then it doesn't block any of my windscreen. Now, just as a comparison, here's the Ford Ranger reversing camera. You can see I've got it backed up to the van, and then we'll go across to the RVView camera. And as you can see, pretty like for like clarity. In fact, I'd actually go ahead and say that that's actually a little bit sharper and clearer than my Ford Ranger one. All right, so we're in the car at night now, just checking out how that camera performs. So there you can sort of see on the screen, we do have a nice clear image. Now it is a black and white image, and it obviously uses those 18 IR LED lights. And just as a reference, we'll go across and have a look at how the Ford Ranger performs. So we can see there, that is obviously a color image, but it is quite a little bit grainy and cloudy and stuff through there. But anyway, guys, I am super impressed with this camera, so let's wrap things up. There we have it, guys. There's the RVView HD wireless camera all installed. Now, installation took around about 2 hours, and that was with filming. So probably just over an hour, I reckon, without filming. Now, the installation went really super simple. I definitely recommend mounting the camera to an aluminium piece like what I did. That made that camera super sturdy. Just make sure you use plenty of silicone just so you don't get any sort of water ingress sort of later down the track. Now, the actual wiring itself was literally 2 wires, just positive and negative, and that was to the clearance light. The rest of it is just literally just sort of plug and play. So it's that simple. Now, clarity-wise, picture quality, signal dropouts, what have I experienced? I haven't experienced any of that. Any dropouts at all. Like I'm actually generally blown away with the picture quality. The clarity, I reckon, is if not better than my Ford Ranger factory camera. So look, that's definitely saying something. Can, gone are the days of those, cheap eBay systems that would, constantly drop out, and really poor quality picture in the picture, and it was like looking through some Coke bottle glasses, right? So anyway, I'm blown away. It's definitely recommended by me. Look, I'll do a review 6-12 months later down the track, see how everything's going, see what I'm experiencing. But overall, first impressions, I'm blown away. Now, saying that, because I'm so blown away, I've had a chat to the guys at RVView, and they're going to hook you guys up with a 10% discount. So if you enter the code GetCamping10 at checkout, you're going to get yourself 10% off your camera. Now, these retail for about $749-ish, thereabouts. I'll put the exact price down below. But look, that's a saving of $75 straight into your pocket. Now, we have a heap more content coming up on this channel with this Caravan. So not only, obviously, the camera system that we just installed, but we're going to be installing an alarm system, which is an upgraded version of the RVSecure that we previously installed in our old van. So that's coming up. We've got some solar panel installs. We've got some inverter installs. We've got a gas heater install. We've got plenty of stuff coming up. Anyway, guys, if you've got any questions or comments, drop them down below. Until next time, get out there, get camping. Talk to you soon.